going to study these all concepts. Okay, so in almost all chapters we used to neglect this background, but this chapter, it's a very important concept. So today's session will finish this. It's not like a background, it's a very important thing which is required to basic knowledge to understand the further concepts. Okay, so let's start memory management. So before we could go for the technical concepts, let me study, or let us decide some points. So when we want to execute a program, so program will be generally stored in the hard disk. Okay, so it is our duty to get or bring the program from disk to the memory. Here memory are of 2 to 3 types. One is RAM, another one is cache, and another one is register. As you know, a program always which is stored in the disk should be loaded on RAM. Okay, so from RAM, some part of the program is selected, that is loaded onto the cache. From the cache, one instruction or 2 instructions are loaded onto the registers. Okay, and registers will finally execute the program or execute the a small set of instruction. Okay, here program is not possible to execute all at a time. It should be split into subcategories. If program is of 500 lines, we cannot execute all 500 lines of a program at a time. So what it will do is it will split into subroutines, and each subroutine will be taken into the cache and they are executed. Again, in each subroutine, we don't have only 1 line or 2 lines. There will be some 10 or 25, etc. Some number of lines. All 25 lines of a subroutine cannot be executed. So hence subroutines are taken into cache. So again, cache will divide the memory, program into instruction level, first instruction, second instruction, like that. So all those instructions one by one supplied to the ALU for execution. Okay, so it is important to bringing from disk to the RAM, followed by cache, followed by registers. Okay, so main memory and registers are only we are storing the this one program or values. And what is the work of CPU? CPU is to access. I hope you know the 3 type of accesses in your CO subject: direct access, associative access, and set associative access method. Okay, in that way we are going to access the memory in which a program is stored. Okay, who is responsible for collecting the data is CPU. Why CPU is this chapter what we are going to study: how it will fetch the data, how it will select what instruction it has to select or fetch, what it should skip. Those all concepts we are going to study in this chapter. Okay, so now very important, what 2 operations we are performing on a memory. One is read operation and another one is write operation. So what are the 2 things if we need read operation? Okay, very simple question let me ask you is, you want to get a textbook from, you have a textbook. Okay, you have a textbook in your personal library. You want to read chapter 3. What you will do is, first thing you will find out where is the chapter 3 in the textbook, that is the address of that chapter. And also you need, in your brain you need something called read interest. So if you don't have an interest, you don't open a textbook and you don't find where is the chapter 3. So in the same way, in the textbook we should know where is a chapter, page number, you can say where is a chapter, particular chapter, and your interest to the request, your interest to the reading operation. What happens if you want to write some assignment in the notebook? Okay, so same way, first thing, in which page you want to write something you have already finished yesterday, today you want to continue. So what is the page number where I can write it today? And also you need data this time. Why? Because if you are writing something, you should have in your brain what you should write. Okay, say for example you are writing assignment of some operating system. So you should have a knowledge for which question, which answer I should write, how much to write, whether we should write a diagram or not a diagram, only explanation, like that. So the data should be there. So for write you need address and data. For read you need address and read interest. Okay, because data is already there. Okay, so next, every to access a data which is present in a register, okay, which I told, which is present in a register, CPU will take 1 clock cycle. Please remember this. Okay, so to access data present in the register, CPU will take one clock cycle. Now the question is why CPU should access a register? Because as I told, memory a program, full program is present in the disk. Part of the full program we will move on to RAM. Part of the program we will move on to cache. Again, part of the program which we move on to cache is called as subroutine. Part of a subroutine which are called as group of instructions we moved on to register. Hardly 4 or 5 instructions. So to perform the execution of those instructions, ultimately CPU has to interact with register. It should not interact with any other thing for data access. Okay, the CPU cannot interact with cache, RAM, etc. for execution. For some other activities, it will interact. Okay, so now if processor is trying to fetch a data, processor is trying to fetch a data from a memory, but there is a wait because the data is not at present, so processor has to wait. That state is called as stall. Okay, you went for a library to get a textbook, and textbook is not presently available, but it is present, it may available for you after 10 minutes. So what happens? You are going to wait there. So that is called as wait. Okay, so then concept, as I mentioned, what is a cache? Cache is present between RAM and a CPU register. As I told, RAM to the cache, cache to the register. So cache is present between memory and register. So one important point of cache is it is a little register is fastest, little slower is cache, little slower is RAM. Okay, so with respect to capacity, very smallest is register, and little speed, I mean little less speed for cache, again little less speed for RAM. Even with respect to the size, registers are very smallest, cache little more capacity, and RAM little more capacity than the caches. I hope you all remember the triangle diagram of a memory hierarchy. Okay, so protection of the memory is also required because correctness of the operation. If you perform read wrong or write wrong, write means this write, okay, not RIGHT, write operation wrong, so that leads to the error possibility in our computer. So to make correctness, we should protect the memory on time. Okay, so now comes very important. Okay, please concentrate. Base and limit registers. So please refer this arrow mark, which indicates the memory is starting from starting on the top and ending in the bottom section. Okay, so you can see now starting value is 0 and ending value is some highest number, There are 3 different processes. They are using different separate space for them. Very simple way, 3 students are sitting in the classroom using 3 different seats. Hope it is clear like that. Okay, so process 1 is using somewhere around 2,56,000 onwards. I say 2,56,000th position onwards. Process 2 is using somewhere around 3,40th onwards. Process 3 is using 4,20,940th onwards. Okay, there is some unused space, free space. If one more process comes, he can use this area either fully or make it split and use it. Okay, now condition, some points. So what is this every line, every horizontal line where we are writing this value, and we are not writing continuous value directly. Again, we will put one more horizontal line and we will write this new value. So these values are called as base register values or base address values. Okay, I repeat once again, base address values. You can see here base 3,40,000. In the same way, for process 1, base is 2,50,000. For process 2, base is 3,40,000. For process 3, base is 4,20,940. Okay, so base means a process who took some memory locations. I repeat, some memory locations. What is its smallest and starting value up to what it has took? that difference, magnitude, I'm telling, this magnitude is called as limit. Okay, I will tell it again. Okay, let us recall one small point. Okay, please remember, you used to sit for classroom during your previous semester, third semester. Okay, so the person, the staff will used to come from the staff room. Okay, he will keep moving, the staff will be moving. Once he reaches the door of third semester A, or it was third sem A or presently fourth sem A, suddenly he will enter if he wanted to engage a class for fourth sem A. So that is a starting, that wall is a starting. So if we enter that, this complete area belongs to who, which category of a student? It belongs to fourth semester A student. Okay, so like this. So in this full area, fourth semester A student will occupy. So there is a just one wall which differences between fourth sem A students group with the fourth sem B students group. Okay, they have entry number called 3,40,000. Fourth sem A student entry number 2,56,000. Once again, if you enter, do we have space only for one student or many students? Many students. See, in this area, there are many locations. But what is the common thing for fourth sem is their entry door is common. Once they enter, they can sit in a different positions. Okay, there is something common called B division entrance. So once they enter, they can sit anywhere here up to this much. They can sit, they should not sit, fourth sem B student should not sit after this wall, which is third division definition or classroom. So that means what? Everything related to the process called fourth B, they should be sitting over here. Starting value and end value. So end value minus starting value is called as a limit. See, just assumption, we have kept 8 benches and 4 rows in the fourth sem A class. 8 benches and 4 rows. So what is the limitation for each student who belongs to fourth sem A? He has to sit only in that area. Even if he is a fourth sem A student, he should not go for any address more than 3,040. Sorry, 3,40,000. He should sit between 2,56,000 to 3,39,000. I repeat, 3,39,000. He should sit between that area only. Okay, if he exceeds that, it is not called as fourth sem A. In the same way, base means starting address, limit means in that, from that base address, how many he can move such that he belongs to that process only. Hope it is clear now. So any doubt, please ask me about this. I hope the screen is visible, Pallavi. Is it not? Pallavi Talwar. So anyone, please do reply. Is the screen not visible or visible? Okay, okay. No, I got a message from her that not visible. Right? Okay. Any doubts with respect to this base and limit? Fine. Okay. Let's go for hardware address protection. This is also one more important concept. So we'll try to understand this with the help of a diagram. Okay. So see here. Now the question, process one is using this one. Okay, let's take process 2 because in the diagram it is mentioned with the base and limit also. See, process 2 base is 3 lakh. Process 2 limit is 1,20,000. So what is the upper bound of the process 2 is base plus limit. If you add this, what we will get? See, 0 plus 0, 4 plus 0, 40, 0 plus 9, 9. So 940, again 0, again 2, again 3 plus 1, 4. I repeat, the addition of 3,40,000 plus 1,20,900 will leaves us to 4,20,940. Hope I am correct. 4,20,940. We can see here that is itself a end of process 2, start of process 3. I repeat again, end of process 2, start of process 3. So what is the upper and lower limit of process 2 are entry 3,40,000 ending 4,20,940. So anything between these two memory locations belongs to process 2. Now you can see here what is a base and what is the limit. Base is 3 lakh, limit is for 4,20,940. Okay, so now you can see the very important diagram. Computer, this CPU will generate one address. Okay, the address should be more than or is equal to base. Coming back to the diagram, 3,41,000. Let's take 3,40,000. Is it equal to the base in the first case? What is the value here? Here you can say. I think I will try to type here something. Okay, not possible. Okay, what is the base for process 2? 3,40,000. What is the limit? Here you substitute 1,20,900. So base is 3,40,000. Hence, what is the base plus limit? 4,20,940. Here you can see 4,20,940. So let us substitute some values here. CPU will generate address 3,40,000. Is 3,40,000 equal to base? Yes means go here. No means you can say error. It's an error. Okay, 3,40,000. It is in the range of base as of now. Then next what happens? Yes case. So is it lesser than 4,20,940? Yes means you are allowed to fetch data here. Okay, so something called, you can say now 55 lakh. 5 lakh. Let's take 5 lakh. So here it is a 5 lakh. Is 5 lakh okay? Very greater than base. 5 lakh greater than base? Yes, correct. It will enter. But is it less than the summation of these two? Is it 5 lakh is less than 4,22,000? No. So again, it will give us a error because you have exceeded the area. Because 5 lakh will belongs to which process? Process 3. Because limit of process 2 is what? 4,20,000. So you should not go before 3,40,000, after 4,20,940. So what is the limit now? It is between 3,40,000 to 4,20,940. Now let's check. Let us check 3,45,000. 3,45,000. So let me take here 3,40,000. Is it a CPU and base equal? Yes. And I will add 5 because 3,45,000. Is it less than 4,20,940? Yes. Hence, you are allowed to access the process area related to process 2. I hope you understood. If I take a 3,45,000, it will somewhere here. So this area. So that makes us very comfortable with process 2 data or memory area accessing. Is it clear now? Any doubts? Right? Okay. So now, what is the concept of address binding? So whatever you did here, addition of first generated address, then addition and checking whether it is lesser than base plus limit and greater than base, that process is called as address binding. So now the question, processes which are about to execute, they will be in the input queue, and from input queue they move on to execution section or execution queue. So, and address should be loaded from the reference of 00. Now the question, what is 00 reference? Here you can come. 00 reference is operating system. So what happens if we don't enter this area? Definitely memory is not having a process history. Very simple way. Something is happening which you doesn't affect your career. Say for example, let me take one example. There is one process called conduction of medical examination. Medical examination is medical subject, anatomy subject examination. Will it affect any engineering student? No, because his stream is engineering and that examination is related to MBBS. Okay, so let's take one more example. It is now the conduction examination of operating system. It will not affect that medical student, but it will affect the engineering student because either in any of its area it is related. So that means process should be present in the memory. Only then we have to worry about it. Otherwise, no need to think about that. Okay. And as I mentioned, binding means attaching whatever the base and whatever is the limit, checking whether it is in the range of base and upper limit. So that is a process called as binding. How the processing binding is done, that we will see in the next slide. Okay. So I want to explain this first and come back to this binding instruction. So here you see, I hope you remember this in your first year subject or for C. We will write a source program. We will compile it or assemble it using gcc.c, gcc1.c. I hope you all remember compilation commands. Okay. Next comes what? Object module. Because of the compilation, object module will get created. The time taken to prepare source program to assembly program is called as compilation time. And please remember, compilation time is changing. Why? Because first time you will give command gcc1.c, you will get some errors. Okay, so that time is different. So what you have to do, you cannot go for next steps because there are errors. So you will debug a error. Again, you will compile. So previous compile time is erased. Present compile time is taken. So previously you got a 5 errors. Okay, that and compilation time was 2 microseconds. Let's assume. Now you modified and you give the one more time gcc1.c. So this time you have got only one error and 1 microsecond of compilation time. So earlier errors erased, earlier compiler time, compilation time is also erased. Now what is present compilation time? 1 error with 1 microsecond. So you will remove that error also and you will compile once again. So what you will get is 0 errors, 0.8 microseconds. So the new updated compile time is 0.8 microsecond. Like that, you should forget the previous attempt. Okay. Now, once you prepare that, then you are going to use load commands. Why it is important to load is sometimes you are going to use library functions like hash stdio.h, con.io.h, etc. So to execute your printf, scanf, cin, cout, etc., we need to take help of standard input outputs. So those are called as library. So those should be there in our program. That's what program will get extended. Okay. So to perform that, it is called as load time. Okay. So compile time is just preparing source program to assembly program. Load time is along with your editor linkage, also including a library and extending them is called as a load time. Okay. The finally is execution time. After this, you will give ./a.out. So that is called as execution time. Okay. So here 3 times are a concept: compile time, load time, and execution time. So same I am explaining here. What do you mean by compile time? The time taken to prepare assembly code or remove the errors. And this is keeps on changing. What do you mean by load time? Load time means the program in which library codes are added and program is extended. The time taken to do this is called as a load time. I repeat, since I am using, definitely I am using standard input output header files. So my program should include those library files. So I need extra time for including them in my program. So total time taken to include them and prepare a linkage is called as a load time. Now the question, what do you mean by relocatable code? I will explain this in the upcoming slide with the help of a diagram. Okay. So execution time means what? The time taken to execute. So that is called as ./a.out. You will give a command. After that, how much time it will take to execute? That is called as execution time. Okay. So next one is logical and physical addressor and its spaces. Okay. Please be very thorough with this word because you will get Viva questions not only in the engineering, even in your any of the job interviews, difference between logical address and physical addresses. Okay, very, very important. Logical addresses means they are generated by computer. Physical address means they are the real address of the memory location. Okay, see here. If I come back to this area, this diagram, you can see here 3,45,000 is a physical address because it is really present in the memory. It is really present in the memory. Okay. If you go to that 3,45,000th location, you will get something. Okay, that is a physical memory. But a computer or a CPU will not understand physical address. It will create its own understanding logical address. Okay, hence logical addresses are only generated by computer or a CPU. Physical addresses are really where we will get a data. So logical addresses are generated by CPU and also they are referred as virtual time. Whereas a physical addresses means they are real addresses present in the memory. Okay, real address present in the memory. Now the condition, if some address is generated at these three different time, with what category they belongs to? If address is generated at compile time, it is called as logical address, which is understood only by the CPU. Also the load time, logical address, only understood by CPU. If it is execution time, it is a physical address. Please do remember these 3 points. What difference between logical address and physical address, and when address generate, what you should call. Okay. If address generates at compilation time, also at load time, it is called as logical address. And if address is generated at execution time, it is called as physical address. Okay, address seen by the memory during execution time. Okay, so bunch of logical addresses is called as logical address space. Okay, so bunch means what? It's a continuous arrangement. Let me say 25 lakh, 25 lakh 1, 25 lakh 2, 25 lakh 3, 20 lakh, 25 lakh 4. Those are the logical addresses and their bunch because it is continuous. Hence that is called as logical address space. Physical address space means don't give any imaginary value. Go and give exact value what you have numbered here. Okay, is it okay if I write 1000, 2000, 3000? Yes, there is no need to write highest value only. 0, 1000, 2000, 3000. So you can write like that also. So that time what is the base? 1000 base. Limit is also 1000 because every box to box difference is 1000. Okay, so like that, go to the diagram, whatever the value you have gave, those same examples you give in the physical address space. Okay, so now comes memory management unit. So what do you mean by memory management unit? Is one who manages all this work here, plus this all the activities that is done by memory management unit. So what is the work of memory management unit? Is it identifies, okay, it identifies the virtual or the physical address. Okay, whether it is a virtual address or the physical address. If it is virtual address, we cannot find it, only CPU can find it. So I don't want to go with the blind belief that CPU is doing correct. So what I will do is I will convert that virtual into physical and I will check whether really that data whatever CPU fetched is correct or not. So for that reason, memory management uses to convert virtual into physical address. Okay, so also now whenever we use a memory management unit, there exists a relocation values or relocatable register. So let me give that first, then I can easily convey you. Okay, CPU will give some address called as 346. Okay, you cannot go with the 346 here because the relocation register, which is a base address showing something called as 14,000. So what we have to do is 14,000 should be added with whatever is address generated by the CPU. If you go for 14,346, that will be the actual address where you will get a correct data. Okay, that is what the memory system itself is like that. Okay, so this relocation register is like, let me give one real world example if possible to understand. See, three students, three close friends are there in the class. Okay, so what their practice is every day, all three we used to come together and go out together. So suddenly what happens is some day of class, they entered the class and no three continuous seats were available. What they will do at that time, one person will sit in one space, another person will sit in another, like that they will sit divided method. Okay, so does they are, if they are sitting in a different position, does it mean they are not a friend? Okay, see, even though they are sitting in a different position, they are a friend. What happens suddenly they may request other two students to move the different way, and let the two friends who are sitting in a different way, they will bring it. Okay, that means what? They are relocating the existing person, and they will bring whatever their wish is. Same way relocation is considered. So finally what happens? Finally they will end up in the same continuous memory which belongs to a particular process. Okay, so relocation means, okay, every time it may change depending upon the availability, it may change. So whenever some continuously 3 or some continuous n or how much it is required is available, they will fit into that area. So the if there is, what is the concept? If there is no support of relocation means process stored in a scatter. Okay, process will be scattered. So if you think those three students who were sitting in a different places, they will request their neighbors, you go that side, let my friend come here, like that you will think. So if nobody supports, finally what happens? They remain in a three different position, and it may not be comfortable for them to sit. So because of relocation is there, finally those three friends will sit together. If that is also not there in our computer, process related content will be scattered. Okay, so it is difficult for process to, I mean, CPU to find out wherever those data is stored. It has to go there, check whether it is present or not, like that. If all three are continuous, what is good way? Okay, simply you go there. All the data of related to that process is continuously available. Simply start fetching and do the work. So working will be faster. So to perform that, relocation register is there. So if relocation was not there, execution becomes slower. Okay, I hope you understood. And that is what a dynamic concept. Dynamic means what? Based upon the availability, go on. Say, for example, three students sitting in a three different benches. Only one student convinced, so another student is unable to convince. So what happens? Two students can sit together because of the relocation, but third person of this group will remain separate because the third person of that bench is not convincing. So meaning is, dynamically they will decide based upon their requirement. They keep requesting, or they keep relocating that third person who is not in that group. Okay, so here is what some of the points we should consider whenever it is a relocation. So routines, okay, not to be loaded until the routine is called. Okay, we should not load the routine on memory until it is not yet called. Only when it is called, that time we have to load. If a routine is unused, don't ever use a space. Okay, if the routine is unused or never called at all, don't load and waste the memory. Okay, so all routines must be kept on relocatable. That means what? You at any time you should be able to change them. Okay, that is what. And one more reason for compulsorily relocation should be there is, if some high priority process comes, say for example, here you see, let me try to give this. P1, P2, P3. P2 has a highest priority and it want to get some more data. So what we should do? If it is some more data, its total space will go on increasing like this. So that time what I should do for process 3, I have to take it and relocate into new area. So this is what one more concept, because he has a highest priority and he will take more data from external world. Definitely his area will increase. If his area increases, where this process 3 has to go? Since there is a best advanced method called relocation, you cut this area and take it in a new space, so that it is called as a relocated process in the memory. Okay, so next one is dynamic linking. Okay, I hope I have finished. Okay, two more points. Whenever we are using large amount of codes, okay, so we have to handle very carefully about this, because what large amount of a code means, here heavy memory is available. Like the same example whatever I told you. Okay, this is a very huge memory. So that time what we should be careful, the way how we are modifying this limit, and the way how we are deleting this from the present and shifting into the other place, we should be very careful with that. Okay, so that is what meaning of this the fourth point in the dynamic relocation. Okay, no special support from the operating system because it's a duty of memory management unit. It OS will not responsible for this. Okay, are you going to ask any of the staff or the higher authority to make those students to sit, I mean to your friends to sit next to you during the class or during the break, etc.? So it is only your responsibility. In the friends level only you have to solve that problem. Okay, so last point from this dynamic, from the overview is dynamic linking. So as the word indicates, dynamic, it is a runtime. Okay, you cannot say once those three student or friends will come, you cannot always say you have reserved a bench for every day. What you will do is based upon the availability, you are going to get settled down. Okay, so or sit down. Okay, so what happens here is based upon availability you are going to get sitting, I mean you will sit here and there, but still even though you are sitting here and there, you will try to communicate like looking at each other or calling here and there, like that. I hope you are understanding that. Okay, so next what you will do is you will try to do the work. You will try to keep some work pending because you want to do that work together, that those three students want to do the work together. So until that, what you will do is you will keep on trying to relocate others such that all three will come very next to each other, and then you will start a execution of a work. Okay, this movement, I mean this controlling is done by a small piece of code as stub. Okay, what stub will do is it will try to perform, the arrangement such that related processes will come together. Also the library routines. Okay, what is the help of this? What is important of stub is like catalyst. Since all three will come sit together and their work will be faster, we can expect with the help of stub, performance will also increases. Okay, and it is a very useful for libraries, and also sometimes wherever it is a shared library, the stub will takes a very important role. Okay, so that's what for today's class. Please give your attendance, and one more minute is left out. So here these concepts are very important for your here I am telling you. First thing, the three definitions: compile time, load time, and execution time. This diagram you have to practice. Okay,